Hi, and welcome to ThePapare.com. We're talking to Kimberlee Downs today, a very special guest who hosts the front row with guys like Sumo Stevens, Andrew Saville, lots of the high-profile reporters and commentators in New Zealand, and we're very lucky to have her on the show today. Hello, Kimberlee. Good to
Hello.
have you on the
Thank
show.
you very much. I feel very honoured to be here.
Well, you're generally the one asking the questions. This time I'll be doing the asking.
I know, I'm not sure how I feel about the switcheroo, but that's okay.
So, you've been in reporting for a while now, and you've been watching rugby pretty much all your life, you said. How are you enjoying this World Cup?
Oh, I'm absolutely loving it. So the last World Cup that I was actually at physically would have been 2011 when it was hosted, of course, in New Zealand. And that was a really special kind of buzz because we hadn't hosted it for so long and it was a lot of fun and the country really got behind it. But being over here and as well being the first World Cup on Asian soil and being able to be part of that history and document that history is really, really special, as well as, of course, following the All Blacks as they try and get that three-peat. So it's been an absolute blast. The people here, as I'm sure you can attest to, have been pretty wonderful, very, very hospitable, very welcoming. So yeah, no, it's been a great time.
Yeah, it has been wonderful, and Kim's got a very special seat in terms of the sidelines, and she doesn't really have a seat because she's wandering up and down those sidelines. What's it been like, worm's eye view, Kim? You're pretty much on the touchlines, behind the touch judges. Can't ask for a better view than that.
No, I actually feel incredibly lucky to be in the position that I am in, although at this tournament you do actually have a specific seat for it because they run quite a tight ship in terms of where everyone goes and what they're allowed to do and things like that, but it's a pretty great view as well. You're basically sitting just next to the All Blacks bench, so that you can add comments about what's happening, about things like on the bench to the commentary team and things like that. Spectacular view, great view for being able to see obviously what's going on. Like you say, you can't really get much closer to the action, so it's been a very fun and very educational time, I would say.
And what's the response been for the New Zealand performance from the public so far?
Of the All Blacks performance. So far, so good. I think the thing is with the New Zealand rugby public is we tend to be perfectionists. We've obviously been very lucky with our teams over the years in that they've by and large tend to be quite dominant, but that does add, I guess, a different sort of pressure on the team itself. So you have games, for example, like against Canada, the All Blacks won 63-0, but a lot of people wouldn't have been happy about the fact that there were a few handling errors. I think they notched up something like 24 turnovers. That was a concern to a lot of people in spite of the massive scoreline. Same against Namibia. A lot of people kind of expect the All Blacks to go into a game like that, put 100 points on them, thank you very much, out the door. The fact that they didn't, and again, the first half proved a little bit problematic. The Namibians came at them with a lot more than I think people were expecting, and so the rugby public kind of sits there a wee bit and maybe has a few concerns about that. Well, also I think rationalising and realising that this is not necessarily going to be the exact team or the exact game plan that they'll play going into the kind of latter stages of the tournament. So it's been a little bit mixed. And conversely, of course, after the opening match against South Africa, I think we're all like, right, got it in the bag, let's go.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you about, because against South Africa, everyone's talking about the game against South Africa leading up to the World Cup. It's pretty much everything that everyone was looking forward to. And then suddenly there was this massive little climax at the start of the tournament and then a bit of a dip. That all seems like ancient history. South Africa came through yesterday, smashed Canada as well. So do you think that this might be a little bit of a lull?
Yeah, there has been a wee bit. It was a bit of a warning bell that they sent out, actually, the South Africans. And I think after that first match as well, so many people were kind of like, well, is that going to be our final? Is it going to be a New Zealand-South Africa final? And we're all just kind of waiting now for the tournament to end and that to happen. I think we've been quite lucky in regards to not so much what the All Blacks have been doing, but obviously Japan upsetting Ireland has made for an amazing story. People have loved that back in New Zealand. The Wales-Australia match was an absolute humdinger, so people have loved that as well. So a lull, yes, a little bit for the All Blacks, but I think in the other parts of the tournament, not so much.
Yeah, and we've got lots going on apart from the All Blacks as well. We've got the superb action in Group A, Pool A rather. We've got 3 teams that can qualify, and at the moment, if Scotland get their bonus point today against Russia, and they get their bonus point against Japan, chances are the hosts might go out.
I know, that would be
then,
upsetting.
in Pool B, this is not going to happen, but mathematically, if Italy beat the All Blacks by 5 points, the All Blacks get a losing bonus point. There's 3 teams with 15 points in that pool as well. So it's been a really open tournament, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's really fascinating as well, like the kind of machinations that go on with that, because like the All Blacks, I was with that with the team just yesterday, and they were talking about how going into that game against Italy, they're trying to put themselves in the minds of the Italians to kind of try and get a gauge of how desperate they will be come that game. So they make sure they respect them, because Italy obviously much less favoured side, but it does make for interesting talking points. Pool A particularly has been fascinating. We've really seen, I think, the rugby-loving public here in Japan get behind Japan. They, in 2015, became the first ever team to win 3 pool games and still not make the quarterfinals. I would hate to see that happen again. I think certainly for people outside of Japan, I suspect Japan is everyone's kind of second favourite team. We all want to see them succeed. We all want to see what that might do for the game on Asian soil for Japanese rugby. That would be amazing. But again, yeah, in terms of the openness, that pool has been really, really fascinating and interesting as well, because going into this tournament, I think we all thought Pool C would be that one, which is the one that features France, England, Argentina. Sadly, Argentina's not really shown up. So now that's come back onto Pool A, and like you say, the fact that everything is effectively going to come down to the very last game of pool play and could potentially be affected by a super typhoon is fascinating.
Yeah, it really is a tournament that is kind of reading like a soap opera script at the moment. It's fantastic. Get behind the characters you want to get behind, and it's going to be really awesome. But tell us about the country. You've traveled much more than I have, to Oita, to Kumagaya, to a lot of the places. Kim, how has this country treated you? How has it been? What did you expect?
I felt really, really lucky. I wasn't actually that sure what to expect, but I think by and large people have been incredibly hospitable, incredibly kind. People really seem to be embracing the whole Rugby World Cup experience. Even people who might not like rugby, might not be into it, but they seem very keen to make sure the tourists and the international visitors have a good time, which is something that Japan is known for, so perhaps I should have expected that more, but it has been nice. Like you say, getting out of Tokyo as well, which is pretty full-on city, and down to Oita, and perhaps a slightly more, I suppose, traditional culture has been really, really lovely. But it hasn't changed, I don't think, the people in terms of how they treat you, which so far has been nothing but amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Tokyo is a completely different country to a lot of the other parts of Japan, which is what I kind of found out in my travels as well. But it has been an interesting country in terms of the fact that there's a hybrid of old and new, and that really is a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? And it's so, I guess, reflected in a way in the Japanese rugby team as well. Like I love the narrative and the story behind that team in terms of how they've built this team with local players and with foreign-born players, and how they've managed to come together in the sort of unity to represent the diversity that Japan could have, because let's face it, this is a country that doesn't necessarily always embrace foreigners on a permanent basis, and so the fact that this team is now getting so much hype when it's got a Kiwi coach, a Kiwi-born captain, South African now captain, and people coming in from different areas, as well as a whole lot of local players who've blended together so well and shown what they can do when they work together, is pretty special.
Yeah, it really is a fantastic story, this Japanese team. Whatever happens to them, they've already really acquitted themselves of their country well, but I really hope they go into the quarterfinals, get in against South Africa, repeat the Brighton miracle, and who knows, they might just be in a semi-final as well. But you said you were physically at the 2011 World Cup. I was there too. I was lucky enough to make the trip to New Zealand, which was awesome.
Well, I hope you were treated as well as Japan's treating you.
Yeah, it was great. It was a fantastic country. We went into one shop where they looked a bit like, what are these guys doing here? And then we told them we were Sri Lankan and not Indian. They were like, yeah. We just meeting you at the Cricket World Cup finals, semi-finals as well. So I think there's a bit of hype.
Yeah, I got to cover the 2015 Cricket World Cup, so that was a fun time as well.
Right, okay. So compared to 2011 to 2015 to now, how do you rate these squads? Which one was your favorite, and which one do you think had or has the best chance?
I'm not going to, that would just be akin to picking a favourite child. I'm not going to pick a favourite. 2011 team made history, and that was really special for some of the storylines out of that. The way Richie McCaw played through injury, the way that, you remember the drama that they had with First Five after Dan got injured, and then Colin Slade, Aaron Cruden and Stephen Donald had to come in for the final, and like all of that just, it seems almost like too much of a fairy tale at that time, and it was 24 years I think since we've won it before that, and so that particular team was really, really special for that reason. And I just remember after the final the absolute sense, first and foremost, of just relief that they had done it, because it kind of felt like going into that tournament, if it wasn't the one that they won, then who knew when they were going to win it again. The 2015 team was incredible. They were just such a well-oiled machine. The way they went about things was really quite something to behold. They were just, without wanting to sound arrogant on their behalf, but they were just streets ahead of the other teams at that stage, and obviously some of the great names who bowed out from there, Richie, Dan Carter, Conrad Smith, Martin Onu, all those guys, and so they were such an integral part of that team and of people's rugby memories from the last decade before that, so that was really, really special as well. Dan Carter getting this fairy tale ending, who could forget. This team I really like because they're almost a bit more fun. So this team, again, trying for history, I think, in terms of the culture, there does seem to be, a bit more fun, a bit more, you don't want to say vulnerability, but a bit more relaxed, a bit more willingness to be quite open with their experiences and things like that, and I think that in itself is really, really special as well. And it's kind of, I guess it's one of those old kind of sporting cliches, isn't it, that when you just let go and just play the game for fun, like when you started playing the game, then that might be when you're at your best, and I think that's something that quite a few of the guys in this team are embracing. So yeah, that's a good time too. Hey, if they don't win, they might slide down the list of teams, but at the moment they're all up there.
Well, let's see. 2015, the All Black squad, can they be the ones to make history again? The first team to win back-to-back World Cups, if they manage to do it. That's way in the future, though, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But Kim T, as talking about experiences, it's kind of a man's world you're in, sports journalism. Not a lot of women get to make the cut, certainly not to make it to the point where you are at right now. How has the journey been for you, and what would your advice be to young Sri Lankan women who are watching this, maybe, who want to take up this as a career prospect?
It's had its challenging times, I won't lie about that. Like I say, it's a very male-dominated industry, and there's a lot of testosterone involved there and a lot of bravado and things that you have to overcome. I think you develop a pretty thick skin fairly quickly, and you just kind of have to. I think it's helped for me having a lot of other women who have gone before me that I can look up to and be inspired by. My colleague Jenny May Clarkson was over here earlier. She's one I really look up to. Other colleagues that have gone before me, Tony Street, Melody Robinson is over here commentating for the World feed. So being able to look up to them and also talk to them about their experiences and how they dealt with them. So I suppose if I had advice, it would be, you're going to come up against challenges, don't let them knock you down, because you'll be stronger for them ultimately. If you can, find someone who you look up to reach out to. I know certainly in New Zealand the female sport journalist group, I suppose, is very supportive, and we love seeing women enter our industry because we need more of them, and women offer such a valuable perspective, and regardless of what the sport is or who is playing it and what gender is playing it. And just back yourself and work your butt off, really. I mean, that's not to be...
You've got to be good at what you do.
Yeah, and you've got to love what you do. And I think it'll show. If you don't have the passion for it, that shows. And if you don't have the work ethic, then, as with anything in life, you're not probably going to make it all that far. But if you love it and you're willing to work hard at it, and you're willing to perhaps put aside some pride and reach out to other women, then you've got all the ingredients there. So good luck to you. Fingers crossed, because this world needs more female sports journalists, quite frankly.
Well, I think Yacinda Ardern's a nice role model for you guys to have as well, growing up in New Zealand, and maybe that's something we need to look at into. Our role models
Don't
out
mix
there.
sport and politics now.
So we've got the William Webb Ellis Cup behind us. It's not the cup, it's not the one that they'll be playing for, but it's a
Imagine if
replica.
they had to pick that up.
Oh yeah, but I think they could.
Oh
probably.
yes,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. Hard to drink out of though.
Yeah, that's what they're going to be playing for in, 3 weeks' time. So Kim will be here covering that, and I'll definitely be in touch with her, find out what her experiences have been. I'll be back in Sri Lanka by that time, of course. Thanks so much, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we hope you learned something from someone who's pretty much lived and trained and breathed with the All Blacks in this last 4 weeks or so, and hopefully you guys will have taken something away from it. Thanks very much.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for our latest content.